Hey guys, I'm here to do a review on a bow that I actually found in a pawn shop. I found this bow at a pawn shop, I think probably a little over 2 years ago, because I got this shortly after I got my Samick Sage, or my Samick Phantom. This is a Ben Pearson Contender, model number 7185. This is a 68-inch bow at 36 pounds. Now, when I first saw this bow in the pawn shop, it didn't have a string. The limbs looked straight and everything, but there was no string, so there was no way to tell how it pulled, no way to tell if anything showed up when it was drawn or whatever. But the wood riser itself was immaculate. I mean, it really is in beautiful shape. The riser and the limbs both. There's no cracks in the glass, no crazing like there is in some of my other used bows. From what I've read, there is really not a lot of information on this bow, but from what I could find, this bow was a tournament bow used for recurve competition in target archery back in the 70s. I couldn't tell you what year, but from what I've read, that's what I've been able to find. Now this wood recurve, you can tell it's an older style recurve, tournament recurve, because the older style tournament recurves had a lot of mass. I mean, if you look at this riser, the riser itself is longer and thicker than my arm. When you hold it, there's a lot of heft to it. When you shoot it, it feels like it wants to jump out of your hand because there's so much weight there. I tend not to shoot this bow because the top limb, I believe it is, when it's drawn and shot, it tends to act a little funny. It's kind of a little bit more loose. It's not quite as tense. There's not quite as much tension as I think there should be in the top limb. The top and bottom limb don't have the same amount of tension. So I wrote it up as a loss, and I just made it into a wall hanger because it suits that purpose beautifully. It's got these nice two light colored stripes that run all the way up through the riser. This is a nice dark wood. I couldn't tell you what kind of wood it is. I tried to find out. I just couldn't. Like I said, not a lot of information on these bows. And I paid a grand total of $35 for this. The reason I wanted to do a review on this is because I wanted to bring up pawn shop finds. Pawn shops are a great place to find used recurves, particularly where I live. I live here in Montana, and Montana is compound country. Almost everybody here shoots compound. So when you come across a recurve in a pawn shop, odds are that it's going to sit there for months before anybody looks at it, anybody buys it. Odds are also that the people who work at the pawn shop are going to know absolutely nothing about the recurve. They're not going to know how to tell if the limbs are straight. They're not going to know whether it's a good brand or a good model. They're not going to know what year it was made. They're not going to know what kind of shape it's in, just judging by the glance at it, and they're not going to know what it's worth. Now, when I came across this bow, there was a slight limb twist, and the pawn shop was asking for $80, and I asked the guy if he was familiar with recurves or whatever, and he said he wasn't, and I explained how a limb twist basically ruins a bow. They're fixable, but if you can't fix them, you can't shoot the bow. I explained to him that I didn't think the limb twist in this bow would be fixable, but I did like the riser, and if he would sell it to me for cheaper, I would buy it and use it to decorate my wall, and that's exactly what I did. I paid $35 for this bow, is all I paid, and for the shape it's in, I mean, it's a beautiful example of the craftsmanship that went into bows back then. So to hang up on my wall, I've got this hanging up on the wall in my bow room, and I've got some of these arrows hung up below it. And it makes a really cool decoration for the wall. So for $35, I more than got my money's worth. But I just wanted to bring up that pawn shops are a place that people typically don't think to look for used recurve bows, and I think they're a great place to look. Because the nice thing about pawn shops is there's a lot of haggle room. They know that something like a recurve, if you don't live in an area where traditional archery is, you know, something that's common, that recurve could sit in their shop for weeks, months, or years before they can get rid of it. And so they're going to be a lot more willing to haggle on price. They're going to be a lot more willing to let you cut a deal for it, and you could walk away with a bow for half of what it's worth. So I think that that's just a really good deal and something that people should keep in mind. So Ben Pearson Contender, 68 inches, 36 pounds. A beautiful bow, absolutely not functional at all. I've tried to shoot out of it, and just the limbs, the way they act weird, the bottom limb tends to come up faster than the top limb. Makes me too nervous to shoot it, so I don't shoot it. But as you can see, beautiful bow, in great shape, and it makes a beautiful wall hanger. So, you know, if you can find an old bow that you can clean up, you know, and you can get away with for pretty cheap, it's a neat idea for your bow room to find an old bow, a vintage bow that is in good shape or that you can refinish and turn it into a wall decoration. So that's what I did. You know, hopefully this review gave you guys some ideas or some examples of what you can do. And thanks for watching. Bye.